the muscle car era, 1970. But the street fighters were still on the scene, even with rising insurance rates and government smog regulations pressing in. But 1970 was the year Chevrolet bolted huge torque and huge displacement into the Chevelle, the 454 LS6. The significance of the LS6 option for the Chevelle Supersport was more than just horsepower. Its appearance in 1970 marked a real change in thinking at General Motors.
That was the first time. That was when GM finally relaxed its rule about putting big motors in their intermediate sedans. It was the A-body car. But when they had the permission to put a motor of more than 400 cubic inches displacement into a GM intermediate-sized car, they said, okay, let's get the biggest one we can, and they did.
Tony's predecessors at the magazine agreed the new rule made sense when they wrote, there were engines and there were cars. It was just a matter of putting the two together. The new engine for the Supersport was a 454 cubic inch monster drilled out of the Mark IV block. On top, modified heads sported huge intake and exhaust valves, and the key components were not from the GM parts bin.
The LS6 had a steel alloy crank, which was cross-drilled for better oiling. Also TRW forged aluminum pistons and 11 1/4 to 1 compression ratio. Holley 780 carburetor, aluminum intake, deep grooved pulleys. It also came with 450 horsepower, which was the big difference, as well as 500 foot-pounds of torque.
450 horses was the conservative GM rating. Real-world figures put the LS6 number closer to 500, matching the massive torque curve, something that left a big impression on drivers of the day.
What they remember from that era is that these things really made torque, because you're talking about big-inch motors. And torque is what gets you out of the hole, and torque is what will shred your tires if you want to do that, and a lot of guys did.
Working hard to not shred the tires, car and driver testers posted 0 to 60 times of 5.4 seconds and clicked off the quarter mile in 13.8 at 104 miles per hour. The cowl induction hood option ran on engine vacuum. When the throttle dropped, it opened to gulp cold air from the high-pressure area at the base of the windshield. The exhaust ran through dual high-flow mufflers to resonators that sweetened the sound before exiting through factory-installed chrome tips. Power was fed into a manual 4-speed Muncie or a turbo 400 automatic transmission. The SS stood on a sport suspension option. Braking was front discs paired with rear drums. The 454 option added more than $1,000 to the price of the Supersport, yet inside the LS6 remained typical Chevelle for the day. Bucket seats split by a console in front of a rear bench. The driver facing an instrument cluster with a 120 mile-per-hour speedo, flanked by a tack and a clock. But all the excitement created by GM's new engine rule would only last 1 year. The big blocks would stay in intermediates for 71, but new emissions controls saw compression ratios drop to 9 to 1 for unleaded gas. The LS6 gave way to the cleaner LS5 454, but gave up 100 horses in the changeover. Rising insurance rates also began to take their toll on buyers. Sales dropped to an all-time low for the Supersport that year, and production was halted after 1972. But for 1 year, GM's LS6 Chevelle stood out as a true factory supercar at the end of the era of cheap gas and monster engine go power for the street. Now in the hands of collectors, preserving our muscle car past.